Okay, you know when you jump into a stinger net and you feel all protected and saved, because isn't that like the whole point? Only to realise that there's a saltwater crocodile inside with you. Welcome to North Queensland, where even when you're inside the things that are supposed to protect you, everything still wants to bite you. So today I was scrolling and I read a post on one of the newspaper pages that said that there was a croc spotted inside the stinger net, and there was a photo of it. It's behind a paywall, but I'm here to show you what I was able to find out. I believe it was in Townsville, but then there's other reports that it was at a beach in Ingham, somewhere North Queensland. How does this even happen? Isn't that how the nets are supposed to work? And honestly, now I'm going to think twice before even going and swimming inside the stinger nets. So if you missed this story, the crocodile was actually seen inside the swimming enclosure at Forrest Beach, which is near Ingham. This is what I could find out without having to pay a subscription to one of the newspapers. Not near it, not beside it, not doing a little swim by. No. Inside the actual net. And the craziest part, that people were legit swimming inside the net earlier that day, and the nets had to be pulled out, the beach was closed, and the rangers had to come and deal with the situation. I'm not sure what they did with the croc, whether or not they just trapped it and then moved it on, or if they took it somewhere. Couldn't find any information about that. So if you know of anything about that story or what they do with it, please comment down below. Like, how does a croc even get inside a net? That seems like crazy, but when you look at them, it doesn't seem that hard. Because here's the thing that everyone talks about, and honestly, how does a croc get in there? Isn't that the point of the whole reason why we've got a safety net? A safety net that's not really a safety net, or is it just a false safety net? And that's because the stinger nets are designed for jellyfish, not crocodiles. So the nets are literally just there to stop the jellyfish. They're made from little tiny mesh, small enough to keep the box jellyfishes out, but not the big animals. So crocs can swim over the net, they can walk out and walk into the net, or they could probably just push through it with their strength. So basically they're the Linda of the ocean. They go wherever they want. And the thing about crocs is that they're strong, they're smart, and they don't read the safety signs on the beaches like we do. And this is what really gets me, because living up here in the Whitsundays, it's so beautiful, and then you see them install these beautiful stinger nets for stinger season, but you can't really trust them, because I've literally been hopping in there without thinking twice. But really what we should be doing is looking at them like, so did we check for a croc today? Because I definitely do not want to be someone's afternoon snack when I'm trying to get a bit of vitamin C. And I'm 100% sure that tourism in the Whitsundays does not want that either. I mean, imagine the headlines. Airlie Beach tourist, not that I'm a tourist, I'm a mum, but gets attacked by a croc inside a stinger net. That would be crazy news, and that would scare a lot of people off. It's almost like it's an unspoken thing that we have crocs here, yet we have, I think it's something like 2,000 to 5,000 people in the water every day, and there's never been a croc attack. I don't know. I'm still coming to terms with how I should explain this to people. So I did a little bit of research for us to try and see if we can establish about it, but all that comes up on the internet is, so here's why crocs end up in places that they shouldn't be. Heavy rain pushes crocs out of river systems. Yeah. Might push them up further a river system. They followed food sources, fish, bait and birds. Okay, yep. But that would bring them closer to the reef, I would think, because there's more fish out there. Calm water, it's easier for them to glide around in. So they actually do really like calm water, not waves. And low tide exposes net gaps. I still don't get that one. And they're curious animals. Clearly, because they're very, very smart, and they are probably patrolling a beach for a while before they actually go in. Like, this one looked like a bit of a baby, so maybe it wasn't up with the nose. I also found that Forest Beach is a kind of place where this can happen because there's river mouse, there's mud flats, and there's fish moving. And they also say that stinger season also overlaps with croc season. So basically, that must be when they're mating. So it's like a fun buffet for crocs, and also the danger of the stingers out there. Here's what people get wrong, including me. You and me, we need to know this. Stinger nets are not bulletproof. And honestly, this is why the story is so wild, because it's so confusing. Stinger nets, they stop jellyfish, doesn't stop the irriganji, it doesn't stop the crocs, and it doesn't stop the shark. So I found some information on there that even the lifeguards will tell you that stinger nets will dramatically reduce your risk of stinger stings. It won't stop the irriganji, and it is definitely not an enclosure to protect you from the crocs, which is so crazy. And I guess now it makes sense about that video in Wilson's Beach that I took, where the croc enclosure was, it felt like it was 2 stories high. It was absolutely huge, but then that doesn't protect you from the stingers because the mesh was too wide. If you're in Townsville, if you're in Cairns, if you're in Ingham, or if you're in Proserpine, Conway, always know that if there's an estuary around, there will be crocs moving. And I remember seeing in Mission Beach, like they have signs to say beware that there's, at night time, that there could be big crocs moving around. And we were out there swimming in the beach, hunky-dory. We were inside the net, outside the net. There were people just like sitting inside the water, like relaxing. And then that same night, we actually got our dog Vala sent up from Victoria. It was our first night, I remember that, which is Remy's auntie. She got bitten by a snake in Darwin, sadly. Very sadly. But the story goes, though, that Mark had took her down for a bit of a run along the beach at nighttime, and he had his torch, and he looked at the water, and there was this huge 5-meter croc, just like where the waves lap. It's not big waves there because it's still inside the reef, but yeah, where the waves lapped. And just up from there were a bunch of bloody backpackers sitting in the water. Imagine if, like, I just don't understand how there's more attacks. Anyways, so we've always got to assume that there's going to be crocs around, even where the nets are, but especially when there's rain. So if there's been floods or rain, be like even more on the lookout. So here's my advice from what I've known and learnt from living up here for nearly all year. If you can swim at the patrolled beaches, always swim there. Lifesavers will be checking the water daily. We don't have that here in Airlie Beach, but I do know that in Port Douglas and Broome, places like that, where they have the surf lifesavers, swim there because they will have patrols checking up in the water. You can't be 100% sure, but I think they have ways of spotting them. Avoid dusk, avoid dawn, and avoid musky water. If the water's not clear, avoid it. Check the local signage. Always check to see if there's crocs in the area. You'll see it. It has like a croc little thing. And if there's been a croc sighted recently, they will often say that, and they'll close the beach. And if it says there's crocs in the area, it isn't suggested that you swim. And don't let your dog go in the water either. I have always had this rule: there is no need to stand near the edge. If you're not swimming, don't stand near the edge, and particularly on the rivers. I don't know if you've seen the footage of a place, I can't remember where the river was, but it was somewhere in Northern Territory, where a little deer went down to the water and a croc just lunged out at it and tried to grab it. They can jump up to 3 meters, so always stand at least 3 meters away, particularly if you're fishing. If you're fishing, you're pulling in bait, and that's when the crocs can come. Never swim alone. Apparently crocs don't like the noise, they like it nice and calm and nice and quiet. And I believe this is why they don't want you to be getting rid of all your fish guts near a marina, because the crocs don't really like marinas because of the boats. But if they then learn that a boat equals food, then like you'll see in the Adelaide River, if you ever go on the croc tours there, the crocs do the opposite. They'll actually swim towards a boat, which is no good for anyone, because then they start to see boats as food. And whilst the nets will protect you from stingers, not all of them, irriganji can still get through, the net is not really safe. Definitely not guaranteeing your safety. It's almost like a pretend safety net, because it is just, I don't understand why they're in there. It's definitely not going to stop me from swimming down at New Beach or for taking the water on the Whitsundays, because that's why we're here. I guess it's the same as, you know, when I did surf lifesaving down at Bankura in Victoria on the surf coast. Like right next to that was 13th Beach, which is where they had the sewage plant, and it was well known that that was where all the sharks were, but we still swam and people still surfed out there. It didn't make any difference because it was just very unlikely that you would see a great white or a shark or anything like that. So I guess there's risks involved with everything. Just like there's a risk involved with me walking up to my front up to my court because there could be a brown snake and it could bite me, or I could step on a funnel web, or a coconut could fall on my head, which is probably more likely. The bloody things. There's cockies up in our trees, which is near the walkway, and they're always dropping. Mark's like, that's what we need to be cautious of these coconuts dropping on our head. Now, don't get me wrong, tropical North Queensland and the Whitsundays is paradise, and I absolutely love it here. But part of living in paradise is also means that you have to respect everything that's living in this paradise, even the things that could absolutely ruin your day. So next time you see a stinger net, don't just jump in, don't just run in, take a second, read the signs, and maybe scan for any big, crickly, larger scale shapes and dinosaurs that could be roaming around. So I'll be doing a whole series about what's been happening in the news in tropical North Queensland, including stinger season, grouper sightings, and any other things that pop up, which will probably include more crocodiles, I am sure, and all the other crazy stuff that happens in tropical North Queensland. So hit subscribe, follow along, and if you want to support my content, consider joining my membership, which is $5.99 a month. Gives you behind the scene content, but it really does just support me to continue to make these videos for you. Think of it as buying me a nice coffee once a month. Because we live in North Queensland and the Whitsundays, life is never boring. So I'll be continuing to share my life. And thank you so much for being here in this little corner of the internet.